many of you lifetime friends. And I know that on December 3rd of last year, when I asked our police department to review its internal policy, some of you were frustrated. But you stayed with me, and I sincerely thank you. I'm still one of the most fortunate guys in town to have such good friends like you. I've always been honored to be at this wonderful event that celebrates an American hero. In some ways, it's hard to believe that after all these years, Cesar Chavez stood up for the farm workers with such courage, conviction, and eloquence, but that we are still struggling against the very real issues of race and discrimination and injustice in this country, and sadly to say, in our own city. I had prepared some other remarks that were in keeping with the theme of education this day. But yesterday something happened that moved me to give a different speech today, though it's still about education. Last night, the sheriff communicated with the law enforcement professionals of our community, like he communicates with most everyone else, by issuing a press release. He announced that his 200 volunteer posse members would be, quote, migrating north, quote, to crack down on illegal aliens. Migrating north. That's the phrase he used, intentionally mocking the language of the hard-working migrant workers who we honor and celebrate today. He says he's doing this because 10 business owners, including a pawn shop and a biker shop, asked him to. And who helped circulate those 10 signatures to deliver to the sheriff? A self-described and self-proclaimed neo-Nazi. The sheriff worded his news release in such a way by naming groups of bikers who agree with him and will show up to support him, that deliberately sets the stage for shouting matches, confrontations, or worse. It's not acceptable behavior for anyone, let alone someone whose job is to make our community safer. And last week, he did the same thing. He sent 200 posse members into a different Phoenix neighborhood. Why? Well, listen to his quote. We lock up murderers, we lock up everyone. We're here for crime suppression, and we're going to lock up everyone. But his posse didn't lock up murderers. They locked up brown people with broken taillights. How does that make our community safer? It doesn't. What does that add to our community discussion on diversity and justice? Nothing. He calls this being tough. He calls it crime suppression. It's neither. Those of us in this room today may disagree from time to time on some issues, but not often, and not on this issue. While the sheriff was arresting mothers and fathers for minor civil offenses, the Phoenix Police Department was doing a different kind of roundup. Last week, the Phoenix Police Department went into a neighborhood that had been taken over by gang members and drug pushers. They arrested 42 violent criminals who were charged with 562 felony counts. Their bond is so high that they have not been released, and the neighbors have gotten their neighborhood back. It was, by any measure, a big roundup, certainly for Phoenix, and these are the roundups that make sense and make us safer. This is the kind of roundup local police should be doing, going after the worst of the worst at the neighborhood level and getting dangerous criminals off the streets. And that's what our brave Phoenix police officers are doing, and not acting as routine immigration agents. They're the ones that are tough. They're the ones that are brave. Give them a round of applause. Today, I say once again to the sheriff what I've said all week. if he really feels compelled to act tough, and if he really wants to impact crime, he should do what Phoenix PD, DPS, the FBI, Mesa PD, and every other police agency does with each other. Go after criminals, not a teenager driving with a broken taillight. If he really wants to fight crime, he should start rounding up dangerous criminals who have outstanding felony warrants already issued for them. There are thousands of outstanding felony warrants in this county. How long are those going to stay piled up on his desk? That would make us all safer. But these made-for-TV stunts of his are putting Phoenix and federal undercover agents who are working the same area at risk. And his own volunteer posse faces serious risk from serious criminals, all in the name of broken taillights on the cars of brown drivers. The sheriff should at least be candid about it. Don't say you're going after murderers when you're not. Don't call it crime suppression when it isn't. And don't pass the buck to 10 business owners when thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of others elected him to make our community safer. So I call upon everyone in this room, especially the non-Hispanic members of this audience, to speak out. Make our voices heard. As Cesar Chavez says, it's impossible to become discouraged about the injustice we see everywhere. But God did not promise us that the world would be humane and just. He gives us the gift of life and allows us to choose the way we use our limited time on this earth. It is an awesome opportunity. Most of us have been grabbing that opportunity for decades, but now is a good time to rededicate ourselves. Let's do it again today. Let each of us renew our resolve to teach our children and to practice our own actions, the most simple of lessons, that everyone wants to be heard, everyone wants to be respected, that all cultures share a common bond, a bond of peace, a bond of respectability. We must learn to create a world in which people of all cultures are treated with respect. Let's focus on what we all want, solutions to the challenges, ways to make things work better than they are currently working. Can we continue the work of Cesar Chavez? Can we help build the compassion of Robert Kennedy? Can we share the dream of Martin Luther King? I know we can. This is Phoenix. This is a city with a heart and a soul, represented by all of you in this audience. And I now have the pleasure to invite up to the podium my friend, your friend, and a councilman that's fighting for justice every day that he's been at City Hall, Michael Malachowski.